day. My name is Amelia. I'm one of the CSMs over here at Headset, and we are going to be talking about inventory management today. So I know you guys can't see each other on the webinar, but there are a few people here. Feel free to chat in any questions that you have along the way. I'm happy to stop and answer those, and I'll be pausing along the way as well. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand too, and I can let you ask that verbally. As well as I'm going to have some time at the end here to go through questions in a more informal setting. So keep that in mind, lots of opportunities to ask and answer questions. And other than that, another housekeeping item is that I'm going to be going through our fake retailer account today. So kind of pretending here within our demo system, but feel free to log into your own instance and follow along as we talk about inventory today. So you can look at your own data compared to the fake retailer account. All right, so we're going to be answering questions all about inventory management today, such as, am I over understocked on certain categories? How do I know which products to reorder? Am I ordering enough of those? And how many units should I be reordering? We'll go through all of that stuff. We have a lot to cover today. I'm excited to get started and jump into it. And for people who are just filing in now, feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat along the way. Okay, so just a couple of things about the inventory module. So you could see my screen here. I am within our inventory module, and how to navigate to that over here on the left-hand side, you can click the hamburger. If you are logged into your instance, click those three lines at the top left and then jump to inventory. We're going to be starting with inventory coverage today. Within the inventory module, we have a couple of different dashboards to check out. One would be inventory coverage. So it really allows you to explore your current inventory, take a little bit deeper dive on as to how well you're covered within each of your categories, what your stock coverage ratio is, which I'll get into in a minute, things like that. Inventory turnover, this was created with the events of COVID in mind, so we're not going to spend too much time in that. It was just really meant to help retailers during the time of COVID when it first started happening. And then reorder report, this is a really important dashboard within our application. It will really help you alongside your reordering process to help you understand what needs to be reordered within your system. And so we'll go into that at the end. And we're also going to be checking out our inventory email here. So this is kind of a newer setting in our application, and I will show you how to use that as well to help with your reordering process and help you kind of automate things even more. Okay, so within our inventory coverage dashboard here on the left, again, you can navigate to that through inventory and then click on inventory coverage. So with this module, again, these will help you kind of understand what is over or understocked, basically. We have a lot of filters at the top here that are going to be important to make sure you're viewing the information correctly within the dashies. And I will go through all of that right now. So if you are beginning your reordering process, first place you kind of want to start is to look at maybe what products, categories, brands, vendors you might be over or under stocked on, so you can make more educated decisions on what to reorder. So first things first is the store filter. I have filtered into my Denver location, but if you have multiple stores here, you can either look at all of them, or you could just focus on one. Maybe you have kind of a centralized ordering and then you distribute to your other stores. You could focus in on that centralized ordering place and then kind of go from there. Forecast sales based on, so this is really all about how many historical or how many sales days do we want to look at previously to determine how well we're stocked right now. So we have trailing 20 or 28 or 60 days here. The trailing 28 is going to be good for if you're selling out of things really quickly, or you just can't keep stuff on your shelves, or maybe you have kind of a nuanced month or something like that. You can look at the trailing 28 days. The 60 days is going to give you a little bit longer and stronger of a forecast. If you have consistent months every month, you can take a look at 60 days. For our example purposes today, we're going to look at the trailing 28 days. And then inventory should cover. So inventory should cover is really kind of all about how we decide how many weeks on hand of inventory you want to have. So what does your ordering cadence look like? How well do you like to be stocked with each week? So do you like to be covered for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks of demand? This is going to be the date that you select for that, or sorry, the amount of time you select for that. So I'm going to say that I like to be covered typically for 3 weeks. Of course, this can be depending on the category that you're ordering for or what have you. But for demo today, I'm just going to kind of keep it all encompassing and in general like to be covered for 3 weeks. Typically grouped by category just makes the graph a little bit easier to read, but you can break it down by brand or vendor. And then this category filter here. So this is going to be seen in a lot of our dashboards as we go along. But the category filter is awesome for if you want to maybe filter out any non-cannabis related items, any paraphernalia, what have you. This is a really great place to do that. So you can select the is not operator here and select any items that you don't want to be included necessarily in your over understocked ratio that we're going to be looking at below. Of course, if you want to focus in on one specific category, you could do that here as well by choosing the is. And then we have a lot of other options as well. The contains is really nice. So lots of options for you there. We're not going to be filtering by brand or vendor here, but those options are available as well. Now, if you are following along, you'll see the right-hand side, this reload button will turn purple. That means that you've selected new criteria and it's time to refresh. So you can select refresh there and you will bring in your new criteria into your inventory coverage dashboard. Alrighty. So with all of my criteria selected, we're looking at the last 28 days of sales. We want to be covered for 3 weeks and we filtered out any non-cannabis related items. Now we can take a look at our inventory coverage ratio. So what this is telling us really is how well we're stocked within each of our categories. As a disclaimer or more information for you about this graph, Headset Best Practices typically says you should be stocked or have a stock coverage ratio between 0.75 and 1.25. That's going to be indicated by this green bar at the bottom. If you're understocked, you're going to fall into a red band, but I'm not understocked on any of my categories, it looks like, so it doesn't look like that. And then overstocked is going to be in this yellow. So it looks like I'm overstocked on basically all of my categories except for beverages. Now that is just to be taken with a grain of salt. That's just what we recommend. Of course, it's going to differ between categories. So now what is a stock coverage ratio? You might be asking. How we calculate that or what that even means is how well you're stocked and how many weeks you can cover based on the amount of product you have on hand for any given category. So for example, let's look at edibles. So if we scroll in just a tiny bit here, we see this black diamond. We have a black diamond over each of our categories. The black diamond is telling us that we have about 2,400 products on hand of edibles, not products individually, but units, total units of edibles on hand. We have a stock coverage ratio of 1.86. So what this means is that we're taking this 1.86, multiplying it by the inventory should cover weeks, and that's how many weeks we have on hand. So 3 times 1.86, we have almost 6 weeks on hand of edibles right now. Now this does involve a little bit of math, but you can scroll down. I am terrible at multiplication, so if I look at this day's supply, I like this a little bit better, just to kind of get a feel for how many units I have on hand and how long I have left. This is going to actually tell you how many days you have remaining instead of weeks. So if I look over here, again, we have our total quantity on hand on the left bar here for edibles. if we hover over the black diamond this time, it says how many days we have remaining. So we have about 39 days left of supply remaining on hand for edibles. And we have an in-stock average units per day of 62. So basically what this means is on average, how many units of edibles do you sell per day? So that is a lot of numbers, a lot of information that I just threw at you. Feel free to add any questions to the chat about what I just went over, and I will make sure to answer those for you. One other thing I really like to point out about this graph is that you can actually click into any category that you want to review further. So let's say I'm really focused on edibles this week for reordering. I click into my edibles bar and I can see every single edible product that I have, the total quantity on hand of those products, how many I sold in the time frame, which is in relation to that trailing 28 days, and then the stock coverage ratio for each individual product. So I like to always say you might be overstocked as a whole on edibles according to that stock coverage ratio, but you might have some edibles that you do want to reorder because those specific products are doing really well at your store, or they're bringing in a lot of revenue or margin or what have you. So this could be a good list to kind of guess and check that sort of information and make sure you are paying attention to those products that are doing well at your store. Of course, we'll get into the reorder report in a few minutes here, or maybe 20 minutes. But that will also help you determine, okay, I have a lot of edibles, I am running low on some, how do I know? Can I just get a simple list that tells me what edibles I need to reorder? So we will get into that in a little bit too. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat yet, which is totally fine. So that's our inventory coverage. I'm going to scroll down to our products in stock with no sales. This is a great place to go if you do have a lot of products on your shelves, or maybe even in the back stock that you want to kind of check on. Maybe there are some products that have just been sitting around for a really long time that might expire soon or something like that. This is a good place to go to kind of affirm those suspicions. So if we click on edibles again, one caveat to this is it's not going to take into account products that you literally just got in stock and have not had a chance to sell yet. So if you are following along on your end, you might see total quantity on hand. You might see a lot of even numbers there. You might see, products that have a lot of quantity on hand. So just keep that in mind. But this is going to be products that have not sold within the last 28 days. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's totally fine. The top, 10 or so products, we don't need to worry about those. We know we just got those in, but maybe if you scroll down a little bit more, you're gonna see products that are a little bit lower on hand. Maybe those are products that are gonna expire soon or something like that. And you can kind of take care of that however you need to. So this is a good list to go to for those specific reasons. Now, maybe we are looking at this list and we think, okay, some of these products we got in recently, but not that long ago. So maybe they are selling pretty well. And you want to kind of take a deeper dive into this. So for example, let's take the brand Hot Sugar. I see one of their pumpkin spice sugar edibles here. I want to kind of investigate that a little further because maybe we're considering reordering this product, but we don't actually know how well it's doing. So we want to take a look at that. So I'm going to show you how to kind of take a deeper dive into our vendor and brand details page, as well as our product details page. So we can take a look at what that looks like when you are doing that deeper dive and doing more investigation. I will pause for just a minute to see if there are any questions. Feel free to add them to the chat. I don't see anything coming through, so we will keep on moving. All right, so the thing I wanted to show you was this nifty search bar up here in the top right. This is a great place to go to if you know that you have a product somewhere in the application, you have a brand, a vendor, what have you. You can just search for it up here. You don't have to dig through the tons of dashboards that we have available. You can just search in here and be taken to a page that is associated with any one of those values. So for example, like I said, I'm gonna take a look at hot sugar and see what's going on with those products and that brand. I typed in hot here. Notice that you'll have a lot of different options, but you can select your specific location. Make sure you do that to get to the right page. So I'm gonna select hot sugar Denver, and I'll be taken to a vendor brand details page. Now this vendor brand details, I already have it loaded over here. Once you click on that hot sugar item, you'll be taken to this page and it will automatically populate with the brand information. So hot sugar, as well as the store information. Date range will always go into the last 30 days, but you can absolutely adjust that if you want to. And then you can filter further by category or vendor package size. This specific brand is an edibles brand, so it's only going to show us edibles. So one reason I really want to take you here is a lot of our customers talk about how overwhelmed they are with the number of different SKUs or products that they can select from. And it's important to them to make sure that they select the correct product mix for their store. Of course, Headset is really meant to assist them with that, but this is a good place to go if you do want to really investigate a brand or vendor, see how their products are doing at your store and make kind of an educated guess that way to make sure that you're bringing in products that match what your store is trying to do and bring in revenue, margin, all that good stuff for a retailer. So we have our top level statistics up here about the specific brand. And if we scroll down, we can see our sales over time for all the product mix that it has, what that means for total revenue in this dark blue bar, and then gross margin for the purple line. And of course, category revenue over time. So this is your category share, but because it's just an edibles line, it's just going to have edibles. Stock and sales, so information about the stock and sales of the specific brand, how well you're stocked with this brand, and are there kind of lull periods here. And then down here, I skipped over this, but I'll come back to it. The sales by bud tender or register. So this is information about your specific bud tenders or sales staff that show you kind of how they're doing in terms of this specific brand sales. Now, if I go back up to product sales and current inventory on hand, this is something that will really help you further investigate the products of this specific brand and kind of take a deeper dive that way as well. So we can see within this product sales, we have total quantity on hand, again, for each of those products, how many units were sold in the last 30 days, revenue, profit, all of that good stuff. And what you can actually do with this, what I really like is that you can take a look, okay, let's say hot sugar sativa soft caramel. That's quite a name for this product, but I want to see how well this is doing in terms, I just want to drill down a little bit further. So we can actually click on this 3 dots next to this product name and be taken into a product details page, what I like to call a product report card, and view all the stock and sales information, gross margin information, all of that stuff. So once this loads, I will go over it. I noticed that I have a question in the chat, so I'm going to take a second to answer that. I search for product. How do we get it to pull up under vendor brand details? All right, so I might have just answered your question, Diana. So when you go to search for, oh, I see, you're taken to this product details page that I'm on right now. So what you could do is search for that brand within this search bar for that specific brand that the product falls under, or you could go to the vendor brand details page and look for that brand, and then the product sales and current inventory on hand will have all of those products that fall under that brand. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a couple ways to get to that information. If you have more questions about that, I'm happy to, I'll be on for a couple minutes after this session and we can chat about it then. Okay, so the product details report card, as I like to say, again, gives a close-up look into the specific product. So again, I clicked on this Sativa soft caramel dipped apple 10-pack. It's a mouthful. You can see how many you have on hand right now, percentage of in-stock days, which means out of the last 30 days. This has been on the shelves for 100% of that time. Units sold has been 3 in the last 30 days. Average item cost, price, margin, all of that information is here as well. And then average daily units. So again, on average, how many units does this product sell per day? Now, one thing I like to look at too with this product details page is the stock and sales. So you can see the stock and sales history over time. So you can see you have 10, or our fake retailer had 10 up until the 5th of February, and then we ordered 10 more and we sold 1. So a question that I like to prompt here is, if we already had 10 and we're not really selling that many, did we really need to order 10 more? Is that kind of a waste of money that could have been put into other products that brought in more revenue or margin, or that sold more units per day? This is just kind of the questions that I like to ask as we look through here to kind of help you begin your analysis when you're starting that reordering process. So that's just a little note about the product details page. One area that I really like to point out there, just makes it really clear what's going on with your stock and sales. Okay, so that is kind of my tangent on the vendor brand and product page. I know I kind of went off of the inventory management piece a little bit, but again, I like to just kind of point that out, that we have that available. So next I'm going to jump into our reorder report. Before I do that, I'm going to take a quick sip of water and also give you time to ask any additional questions. Okay, great. So let's jump into the reorder report. So this, again, has a lot of filters that we need to pay attention to in order to kind of make the most of this list that we're being provided at the bottom. So we have our store, again, trailing 28 days. So this is the how many sales days you want to look at to produce this product list and kind of prediction. Inventory should cover, again, is going to be 3 weeks. So this kind of flows through from the inventory coverage. And then we have a couple of additional items here. So we have buffer days. This buffer days was added because it can take several days for an order to reach the dispensary after it was ordered. So if you're ordering for 3 weeks worth of demand, and you know if you place that order, you're not going to get it for another 4 days, you want to make sure you do account for that demand as well, so you're getting enough inventory to cover that amount of time. So 3 weeks plus 4 days. So you can select 4 days here, or whatever the buffer day is typically. And then estimated increase in demand. So this is really for holidays. So for example, 420 is coming up. Maybe you know historically you have a 20% increase in sales for a certain brand, vendor, category. You can choose 20% here, and it will increase the minimum suggested order that we have at the bottom product list here. And I will point that out to you in a second. Or you could decrease the demand. So maybe if it's like a slow Tuesday in the middle of the month, and you're ordering for that week that's usually slower than the rest, you could decrease the demand as well. And then category filter, you can absolutely filter by category or vendor. I'm going to continue on my hot sugar journey here. I'm going to just only look at hot sugar because that's what I want to focus on. So that's just kind of an example of how the filters work within this specific report. Again, once you gather all of your criteria, make sure to hit that refresh button over here on the right. And as we scroll down, we have some top level metrics once we filter in all the criteria. Total quantity on hand, so this is going to be in units of the specific brand. How many sold in that last 28 days, how many units? In-stock average units per day is about 5.8. And how many days you have remaining of these products. So just a little bit of extra information about the in-stock average units per day. This is something we get asked about a lot. So unlike a lot of the point of sales, we really only look at when your products are in stock. So if there's a SKU that's been out of stock for the last 28 days, we're not going to take that into consideration, because if it's not available, then we can't accurately tell you how many units per day you're selling. So we're only using the days when it's available in this average. And it kind of makes it more clear about what products are actually selling and when. So that's just a little bit more about this unit here. Okay, getting into this product list. So one thing I always like to tell people is that this product list is only going to show you products that you're either completely out of or running really low on that you have to consider reordering. I'll go through the columns here. So we have our store name on the left. We have our product name here, category, vendor, brand, unit, total quantity you have on hand. So you're going to see a lot of zeros here, but you're going to see some larger numbers too. That just means that even though those numbers are more, they are not enough to cover the next 3 weeks worth of demand. In-stock average units per day, again, we just kind of talked about that measurement, how many units on average you're selling per day of that product. Total sold in time frame is going to always be in relation to whatever this 28 or 60 days is. And then we have estimated days remaining. So given all of this information and the math behind it, how many days of this product do you actually have left? Minimum suggested order. So this is going to be without the change in demand. So for example, this one, minimum suggested order is 250 of this hot sugar chocolate sugar. Definitely want to reconsider reordering that because it sells about 10 per day, and we need to order a lot to cover the next 3 weeks worth of demand. Minimum suggested order with increase or decrease. So that's taking into account this plus 20%. And percent of days in stock, as well as stock coverage ratio for each individual product. I'm sorry, I have a cat at home and she just did some interesting stuff and I got distracted. I hope all of my work from home people understand that. Anyway, this product list, so hopefully that all makes sense. A couple of other things to note about this product list is that you can move columns around. You can also sort by different columns. So if you want to look at like maybe total sold in time frame, the highest to the lowest, you can click on that column name and sort it that way. One thing I have not mentioned this whole time is that you can actually download all of this information. So click download data, you can download it into an Excel type format and view it in Excel or CSV and upload it into Google Sheets that way as well. So after all of that, I really like to kind of sum it up by saying that the product list or the reorder report really aims to take the guesswork out of a lot of your reordering process, because we are only telling you, the products that you're out of or need to reorder. So we do have customers that kind of swear by this method and only order products that are on this list and nothing, if they feel like they want it, or, it takes kind of the guessing out of that type of work. So I hope that all makes sense. I know we are at 1:30 Central Time. I'm on Central Time. But one other thing I did want to share with you is the inventory email. I can go over this really quickly, but it is one of our newer features, and I think it's pretty cool. We do get asked a lot if we can send emails based on, if you're completely out of something, can you get like a notification or something to alert you of that? Not necessarily, but our inventory email, which can be found under the emails module, under inventory email. This is really helpful if you want to schedule an email based on the estimated days remaining of any particular product. So to break it down here, I have my store selected. You can look at category, vendor, or brand filters too. I'm looking at the brand, but you can also choose vendor or product name. Some people like to do vendor and then just focus on their vendor information. If you're in Canada, maybe looking at brand or product name. And then you can set the estimated days remaining. So I like to do is between and provide a range. So maybe I want to look at products that only have between 5 and 10 days left, because that way I know I'm definitely ordering products that are just about to run out and I can get them in the nick of time. I'm not a retailer or don't work in a retail location, so I don't know if this is actually real life, but hopefully it kind of makes sense and you can apply this to maybe you want to look at products and order them if there's 20 days left on hand or 30 days left, and that's what your reordering cadence is like. So you can set your date range here, refresh, and then if we look at the information below, we have our vendor information, estimated days remaining of the products within this vendor, total quantity on hand, and then average daily units sold. So this might make more sense if we take a look at product name, and then we can look at it by individual product. So hopefully that makes sense. The product name will just appear right here. And we can look at how many days remaining of that individual product do we have, how many average daily units were sold, all that good stuff. Now, one last thing, thank you for bearing with me, but how to schedule this as an email to yourself. Go ahead and click on dashboard actions over here in the top right, click schedule delivery. There's going to be a pop-up form that you need to fill out, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You can select all of your different criteria here. And then you can just click save and it will save, and then you can set it and forget it. So if you want to see a list of products with only 5 to 10 days remaining every Monday morning, you can set this to the days remaining, schedule it, and then forget it. And I will say, if you have not attended a how to automate your reporting training session yet, I recommend attending that, and I'll go over a lot more details on how to schedule emails, how to favorite dashboards, all that fun stuff. Okay, I know that was a ton of information. I hope you retained at least some of it. Now is when I really like to kind of remind everyone about the additional headset hangouts training sessions. We'll have a lot more coming soon to be added to this list, but tell your team about these different ones. Super helpful for different areas of the business. And now's the time when I like to kind of unmute people and allow them to actually speak to me. You can share your video if you want to and ask any questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending. I'm so happy to hang out with you today, and shoot me an email afterwards if you have any questions you want to ask offline. I totally get that too.